Do you want more distance? Of course you do. Who doesn't? Hi everybody, Darren Faulk here with Break 90 Golf, and today we're going to be talking about the 5 most common issues I see with golfers that are not getting as much distance as they can. 3 simple changes you can make to your setup, and 2 changes that you need to make on your follow through and in your finish that's going to get you hitting the ball farther and having more fun on the golf course, and of course getting you to break 90. So stick around, you do not want to miss this one. Okay, so the first mistake I see golfers make is a tee height that is not high enough. So when we look at the new modern drivers here, we have to know where is the actual sweet spot. And the sweet spot is actually going to be up here in the upper half of that golf club. So we need to be making contact up here. When we have a tee height that is too low and into the ground, our tendency is to make contact with the golf ball too low on the club face. So if we make contact with the ball down here below this line, we are not going to get the launch. We're also not going to get the distance that we could. Where we need to be making contact with the golf ball is in the upper half or above this line. So the first thing we got to make sure that we do is that we tee the ball up high enough. Now, if you have a range ball here, or really any ball that has the, we can use the emblem on there, but the range ball is perfect as a little bit of a guide. And what I like to see as a general rule is I want that middle part there, the practice, to be above the top of the golf club. Okay, so if the tee is down too low, I'm already setting myself up to hit that ball too low on the club face. So we're looking for, when the ball is teed up into the ground, that the upper half of the club, this practice logo right here, is right on the top of the crown of the golf club. That's going to ensure, as we come into the golf ball, that we're slightly above the ground, and that's going to ensure that I'm hitting the ball again on the upper half of that club. So rule number 1, got to make sure that we have a tee height that is high enough. Okay, so now that we got the first piece in getting the correct tee height, the second mistake I see is golfers not having the ball positioned properly in their stance. The typical thing I will see is the ball placed too much towards the middle of the stance. And the problem with that is we look at how we need to hit the driver, looking at our hula hoop here, okay? We look at the golf swing and I say circle, represented by this hula hoop. That circle is going to have a bottom to it where that black line is. For my irons, we need to be hitting those a little bit more on the way down. So as long as the ball is back of there, we are going to be hitting the ball a little bit more down. But with the driver, to optimize our distance, we need to be making sure that we're hitting the ball more level or even slightly on the way up. So if my ball position is too far back in my stance, I'm going to be prone to hit down too much on this golf ball. So we need to make sure we're hitting up or slightly, or level to the ground or slightly up. So therefore, where I want to see the ball position, step number 2 to maximize our distance, is having the ball positioned right on the inside of the left heel. Really where we're looking at it would be underneath the left shoulder, but it's hard to see that obviously, so we can use our feet as well too. But if I've got this alignment stick here, right on the inside of my left heel, I put my left arm straight out, okay? This is where I'd want that ball to position to be. If I play it too far back in the stance, I'm gonna be prone to be hitting down, or I'm gonna have to make some compensation in my swing to hit the ball properly. When I have the ball positioned correctly, right on the inside of my left foot, and have the tee at a proper height, I'm setting myself up to hit the driver properly. Okay, so the third mistake I see in the setup is we've got the ball position correct now, we got the tee height correctly. The third issue I will see is the golfer not having enough side bend or tilt away from the target. Right now with my irons, I'm going to be a little bit more straight up and down. If you look at the zipper of my jacket here, irons are going to be a little bit more straight up. But with the driver, because we're trying to hit on the upper half of the club, and because we're trying to deliver that club through the ball either level to the ground or slightly on the way up, we need to have a little bit more tilt or side bend as we're coming into the golf ball, looking something like this. Now, the issue I see with most golfers, a lot of golfers instinctively know to do this, but they go about it the wrong way. And here's what I'll typically see. We'll get the setup correct, we got the ball position correctly, we got the tee height, and then from there, what they'll do is they'll tip their shoulders and their head back. Okay, now, while this is creating a tilt in my spine, which I need to help swing a little bit more up on the driver, the mistake here is that it's putting too much weight onto my back foot, right? For every club shot that we hit in golf, irons and drivers, we have to have more weight on our left foot than our right foot. You've heard me probably talk about that before. So what I like to see is, again, I want to see that tilting or that side bending, tilting away from the target, but I can go about it a better way. Rather than me tipping my head back to create this angle, which is going to cause me easily to hit the ground back here, the way we're going to create that is by bumping or pushing the hips towards the target. So watch when I do this, my hip moves forward. I've got my spine tilt here, but notice how my head stays in place, right? So the biggest issue I'll see with golfers is one of two things. Either they'll have a tendency to tip back with their head, or worse, they'll actually set up the opposite, where their spine is actually angled or tilted towards the target. And what does that do? Sending them to hit down on the golf ball as opposed to level or slightly on the way up. Okay, so now that we've covered some changes we need to make in our setup to make sure we're getting as much distance as we possibly can, now we're going to look into what we actually need to do in the golf swing. And our focus for today is really going to just be in the follow through and in the finish. So the first thing that I see in the swing, and our fourth step for today, is we look at the longest hitters. They move their weight, their hips, the most forward throughout the golf swing. So as you look at where my right hip is starting, right on the stick here, by the time I get to the finish, notice how far my hips have moved forward towards the target. What do we see from the shortest hitters? The exact opposite. As they come through the golf ball, they will tend to be looking something like this here, where their hips, if anything, will probably move backwards. And again, if we think back to what we talked about in the setup, it makes perfect sense, right? If my weight doesn't move forward enough, I'm going to have a tendency to be hitting too much down on the golf ball. If that happens, my tee height can't be very high, or else I'm going to hit the very top of the club. Therefore, I'm going to have to tee the ball up pretty low. I'm also going to be prone to be hitting the ground before the golf ball. So as a result, I'm going to move the ball back in my stance. So it all really kind of works together. So now that we've got a change in our setup where the ball is more forward in my stance and the ball tee height is high enough to optimize and let me hit the top of the club, the next thing that we've got to make sure that we are doing coming through the golf ball is moving our hips and our weight as far forward as we can. So when I finish my swing, my belt buckle should be over my front foot. And as you look at my hips here, they just put a golf club across my hips. As I rotate and come through, notice how this golf club has gotten past where that stick was on the ground. Again, my hips are moving forward. So the fourth step to getting the most distance we possibly can is to make sure that our weight and our hips are moving the most forward. The fifth thing that we need to make sure we get as much distance as possible is going to be with my arms. If my weight is back, what's going to have to happen to avoid hitting the ground is I'm going to have to start bending and flexing my arms to avoid crashing into the ground. So the fifth thing that we need to make sure that we're doing to maximize our distance is have our arms staying very straight, okay? Stretching those arms out. Again, we look at the longest hitters, every one of them, they might have their heads down, they might not, that's not too important, but you will see them coming through the golf ball and they will be looking like this. Their hips are pushing forward and their club is stretching out away from their body. Every long hitter does that. Every short hitter looks the opposite. Hips are back, chest is down, and as a result, the arms, okay, are bending as I come through the golf ball. Okay, so a great drill to get this feeling and this sensation coming through the golf ball of our hips and our weight moving forward while also making sure we keep our arms straight is simply this. We're going to take the golf club here, in this case is my driver, but you can do it with any club. You're going to put it right up against your stomach here, and then you're going to move your hands down the club so that your arms are straight. Okay? From here, you're going to go ahead and tip over just a little bit to get back in your golf posture. And now from here, with no backswing, all I want you to do is feel like you take your belt buckle, your hips, and push them up to the sky or up towards the target. Okay, and notice what that looks like coming through the golf ball. Notice how my head stays in place. That's my spine staying tilted away from the target as opposed to my spine tilting towards the target. And also as I come through, notice how obviously the club anchored against my body is going to keep my arms straight. So I got to this position here, then from there just simply take my club away, right? And this is the position we need to be getting to with our driver. So notice how far my hips have moved away from the stick here. My hips are pushing up and forward. While I'm doing that, making sure my arms stay straight. What's this going to allow us to do? It's going to allow us to hit the upper part of the golf club here and also do so with the club that is moving level or slightly on the way up, as opposed to the chopping down that we see from golfers that lose tons and tons of distance. Thank you everybody for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful. If you have not already done so, please be sure to like and subscribe to this channel. That will help me to continue to put out content for everybody. If you would like to work with me in person, you may do so at Holly Ridge Golf Club on Cape Cod. We also can work together online via the Skillest app. You'll see links to both of those in the descriptions below. If there's anything you would like to see and that you feel you need in order to finally break 90, please make sure to mention it in the comments below. As always, thanks for joining me and look forward to seeing you again next time.